Welcome, Oki. Thank you, Rotarians, for joining us for this very special presentation with Jennifer Jones. Really excited about that today. We realize this for some of you is also your regular Rotary meeting. And so to make it like such, we have O Canada, a very special version of O Canada for you today. Charlene, if you would fire that up for us.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, too bright to laugh, with all that command, with glory as we seek a land that true, strong and free. From my right, oh Canada, we stand on God for thee. Lord, keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on God for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on God for thee.
What a great version of O Canada. We had the young ladies from Malawi at the Up Hills Both Ways School. They're singing that for us and thought it was great to share with you all. We have Helen Henderson is our first female member of our Rotary Club and was our first female president. She is going to share with us, and welcome to the Rotary folks, the dignitaries that we have here, and just all of you as Rotarians. Thanks very much for joining us. Helen?
Welcome, everyone. The Rotary Club of Lethbridge is very pleased to host this very special Christmas meeting. First, I would like to welcome our very, very special guest, Rotary International President Nominee, Jennifer Jones. We're delighted to have you with us today, Jennifer.
Helen, Helen, can you share your camera with us too, please?
I'm trying to start video and it's not clicking on from here.
Don't worry about it then. It's all good.
Okay.
Carry on.
I would also like to welcome our District Governor, Mary Turner, from the Rotary Club of Olds. It's great to have you join us again, Mary. There. I'm pushing buttons while I talk. Welcome to a number of past and future district governors who have joined us today. I would also like to welcome the Rotary Clubs who have chosen to make this webinar their meeting this week. Welcome to Rotarians from Lethbridge East, Lethbridge Mosaic, Lethbridge Sunrise, Calgary Chinook, Calgary Heritage Park, Calgary West, Medicine Hat, Olds, Red Deer, and Stettler. In addition to these clubs, many other clubs are represented by the more than 300 Rotarians who have joined this meeting today. Welcome to each of you. Now I invite Dennis Chinner to introduce our special guest.
Thank you, Helen. Just as a reminder, everyone, Jennifer will speak for approximately 20 minutes, and then there will be time for question and answers afterwards. So please add your questions on the question and answer tab at the bottom. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Jennifer Jones, Rotary International President Nominee, a member of the Rotary Club of Windsor-Roseland in Ontario. She will be our first female president of our worldwide organization. A current Rotary Foundation trustee, Jennifer has been a Rotary member since 1997 and has served Rotary as RI Vice President, Director, Training Leader, Committee Chair, Moderator, and District Governor. She played a lead role in Rotary's rebranding effort by serving as Chair of the Strengthening Rotary's Advisory Group. She is the co-chair of the End Polio Now Countdown to History Campaign Committee, which aims to raise $150 million for polio eradication efforts. Jones is founder and president of Media Street Promotions Incorporated, an award-winning media company in Windsor. She was chair of the Board of Governors of the University of Windsor and chair of the Windsor-Essex Regional Chamber of Commerce. She's been recognized for her service with the YMCA Peace Medallion, the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal, and Wayne State University's Peacemaker of the Year Award, a first for a Canadian. Jones also holds a Doctor of Laws. Jennifer recently led the successful #Rotary Response Telethon, which raised critical funds for COVID-19 relief and was viewed by more than 65,000 viewers. She has also received Rotary International Service Above Self Award and the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service. She and her husband, Nick, are members of the Rotary Foundation's Arch Clump Society, the Paul Harris Society, and the Quest Society. Welcome, Jennifer. We look forward to your thoughts today. And you've got a guest speaker with you.
I do. Thank you, Dennis. I'm going to take the opportunity to introduce to you all my niece, Olivia. And I asked her to join me today because she's going to share a couple of comments and thoughts with you all as well. I figured that at a week that we focus so much of our time and energy on family, that this would be a nice meeting to be able to do that together. I want to thank you, President Allen and DG Mary, for welcoming me to your club and to your district, and welcoming us, I should say. And it is absolutely a pleasure in the days leading up to the Christmas holidays for those who celebrate Christmas this week. It's a delight to be able to share time with you, and more than anything, share some thoughts and reflections. But I'm really interested in getting interactive with you because there are so many folks on this call that are good friends. I've spent a lot of time, certainly in Lethbridge, when we had the inaugural Bernie Carrier golf tournament. I remember being there for that, and that was an opportunity to get to know a lot of folks in your district. And of course, last year I was in Red Deer, staying with Liz Audenart and reflecting fondly upon her husband Monty and everything that he meant to me as a mentor. And so today, actually, one of the things that I want to do is be able to have Olivia share some of the things that she's doing in Rotary. And her dad, Dave, my brother, is the president of their Rotary Club this year. And I want to tell you about something that happened a couple of years ago. Dave and I were sitting and I was getting ready to do a media interview. And like you do when you're prepping for a media interview, you think about what they might ask you and how you might respond. And so the interview was about service and service in our communities. So out of her dad's mouth came these words. He said, "In order to live in the kind of society you want, you have to help build it." And I looked at him and I said, "Wow." I said, "Who said that?" And he said, "I said that." And I said, "Well, no, like who really said that?" And he said, "No, I said that." And we started to sound like we were an Abbott and Costello routine. And finally, we came to the conclusion that this was actually a quote that he actually originated. And it's something that ties so hand in glove, as far as I'm concerned, into, Rotary's vision and our mission. And, certainly our vision statement of together we see a world, we, all of us, where people unite and take action to create lasting change across our globe, in our communities, and most importantly, in ourselves. And in Dave's Rotary Club, where Olivia's mom and dad are both, her mom was the charter member. And when they start their meetings, they start with the 4-way test. But who does it?
The kids.
The kids. And so they formed their Rotary Club because they're a lot of young families, and they decided that having their children at the meetings was really important. And so at these meetings, they actually, learn about Rotary, and you were inspired by some things that you heard there. So I want Liv to tell you a little bit about a project that she's been working on, because I think that service begins at all ages, and everyone has the power to do something pretty big. So Liv, why don't you tell them a little bit about the project that you've been working on and how it got started.
Okay, so we have a friend, and I was at school when my mom was the president, and she had coffee with a man named Nick, and he makes these really cool, he's made skateboards, he's made a whole bunch of things. He's made speakers with plastic. So he collects Tim Hortons lids, he collects bottle caps from Pops, he collects bread and milk tags, and he melts them and he makes these really cool things with them, and he sells them. And our class, he came in one day and he explained everything. So now we have everybody trying to collect Tim Hortons lids, like the coffee lids, bottle caps from
So yeah, all the
Pops.
things you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So now, how many do you think that you and your classmates have been able to collect? Any guess?
I think it was
Probably thousands, right? Yeah, a lot of Tim Hortons coffee going on here. And so, Olivia, why is the environment, this is obviously something that benefits the environment. Why is that important to you?
Because it doesn't, it's less litter, and you don't have to recycle as much, and you can reuse it and keep reusing those plastics for what you have now.
And we know that the environment is now one of Rotary's new priority areas. So you're doing something that ties into that as well. So I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
So I would like for you to stay with me while we continue this little talk. Does that sound good?
I was gonna sit on the chair.
You sit on the chair back there. Perfect. So I think that it's an inspiration to be able to see that service is something that is meaningful to every age group, and there is no wrong age, as our president Holger Knack says, to become part of the family of Rotary. And so I think that she's doing a great job. And the environment, it's at a time right now that we have been going through the most challenging year of all of our collective lives. There are some things on the horizon that are giving us hope. And certainly as we see vaccines rolling out right now across our country, that is something that gives us hope. And I'll come back and talk about that in just a few seconds. But first, while we're on the topic of the environment, I want to say that even in the midst of all of this craziness, we do still have things that give us the opportunity to celebrate. And the environment launching is one of our new areas of focus on July 1 of this upcoming year, I believe is something that really does give us something to focus some positive energy on. And as Rotarians, an idea now for us to dream of other things that we might want to tackle that relate to preserving planet Earth, because we only have one planet. We don't have a planet B, we have a planet A, and we need to treat her well. And so we know that from the extensive research that we did in order to arrive at creating this as a seventh area of focus for us. Last year, this is an interesting fact, last year, more than $18 million of our global grants had some aspect of the environment that was tied into it. So Rotarians, you've already told us that the environment is a priority for you. And so now we have an opportunity to look at what other difference can we make, large and small. And certainly, I know this resonates with her generation and Rotaractors and Interactors alike. And so I think it's a meaningful part of our successful movement forward as an organization. So yes, back to the state of where we're at. COVID has obviously put our world on its head. In every single man, woman, and child across the globe has been impacted by this. But as I mentioned in our vision statement, that we are people of action. We haven't had to ask Rotarians to be people of action. You showed us that you already were through your actions collectively. Every Rotary Club and district throughout our country has, really spent a lot of time, I think, not only in areas of providing for PPE and critical funds for ventilators, but also understanding food scarcity issues and what that means to our communities. And even in our affluent country, that there are people in need, and so many people that we need to make sure that we're looking out for, not only with making sure that they have food and things like that, but also making sure that people who might not have someone, that they're not isolated and that we're reaching out, especially as we scan our clubs to make sure that people are involved. And right now at the holidays, it couldn't be more important than ever, because, you know, being in isolation, the mental health issues have really been off the charts over the past several months. A lot of uncertainty and anxiety that elevates to the top. But hopefully we're going to see a turn as immunizations and vaccines do come into the forefront, and we're starting to see them going out into our communities. As a matter of fact, my husband Nick is a family physician, and here in Windsor, where we're located, he's going to be having his vaccine tomorrow morning, and joined by all of the local media talking about the importance of vaccines and making sure that everyone understands that when it's our turn, we know that there's a priority of how they're going to be disseminated. When it's our turn, that it's something that not only is good for us, but it's also good that we do it, because it's then good for everyone else around us. So other things that right now are giving us a little bit of hope, and COVID is certainly tied very closely into our polio eradication efforts and our efforts as Rotarians to do vaccines and to do them well. This is our wheelhouse. And so in the weeks and the months to come, we're going to be talking a lot about what Rotary's role is in COVID eradication. And the fact is that we already have a template in many parts of the world with our polio infrastructure that we have in place. And that's another thing that I believe we should really be celebrating, is the incredible contributions that we have made to the public health of our globe. And that infrastructure in more than 70 countries is definitely going to be something that we'll be harnessing and utilizing as COVID vaccines are put into some of the countries of the world where these exist. But also, I think for all of us in our own country here as well, that we have an opportunity to be working with our local, our regional, even our national governments to see what role Rotarians can play. I was on a call this morning with the leadership chain for both the Rotary Foundation and the RI board. So President Holger, President-elect Shaker, myself, and on the TRF side, Chair Ravi Ravindran and Ian Risley, John Germ, and we're discussing our COVID path forward. And it really is part of Polio Plus, something that we all know so well, the other things that we're able to tackle while we're doing the good work of polio. And so I think it's, you know, we're going to be talking a lot about this into the new year, and I won't do a deep dive on it right now, but we do have a role as an organization that has led the way in showcasing that vaccines are effective and they're safe, and that there's something that we know, particularly with polio, that we have the ability, the power within us as an organization, and a compilation of us as individuals to eradicate the second disease in the history of mankind off the face of the planet. And we will do this. We will do this in short order. A couple of other good things that I wanted to tell you about, little Christmas presents, I guess. And that is about one of the subjects that you're going to be hearing a lot more about in our organization is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as Canadians, I know this is something that we have actively talked about for a long time. And it's something that we have been very good at in our Rotary Clubs, recognizing the diversity that exists in our communities and hoping to make them a good reflection of our clubs. And this is something that we're really going to be talking a lot about. And I'm very excited to share with you that our International Director, Valerie Wafer, is leading a task force right now that is doing a deep dive on this topic to create a toolbox, if you will, that we can put into clubs so that we're better capable to have maybe some of those challenging conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what it means to tackle issues such as gender and age and race and religion, and how we put them all into the mosaic of our organization and how it strengthens us when we have diverse perspective. And diverse perspective is quite honestly, I think, the best way that we can frame the dialogue, is that we are stronger than, our governments and other organizations because we bring a unique way of solving the world's most pressing challenges to the forefront. We're not all looking at it through one lens. We look at it because we come from a whole different cross sections of vocations and jobs and ages and everything else. And so we look at it through that diverse lens, and it means that we can solve these problems in ways that others can't. And so that is something that I think we should celebrate a lot. And I know that as Canadians, that is something that that truly resonates within I know all of our hearts. So I want to get now to questions and answers, if we could. And I know that we want to be careful of time here. And I would just love to see some of your smiling faces. So Dennis, let me turn it back over to you. I know you're going to lead us through some Q&A, and I know that Olivia would be happy to answer questions too. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Jennifer. I think it's come up a couple of times. One of the questions that we have is, what was your most memorable Rotary moment, and how did that impact your willingness to get involved?
Wow. I think that for all of us who are on this call, if you were asked your favorite Rotary moment, you probably, like me, have a book that's probably this thick of incredible Rotary moments. Let me use this one. This is a very personal one. And Olivia's grandmother, my mom, she became a Rotary Club member. And it was the last official task that I had as a district governor back in 2007, 2008, was inducting my mom into the Rotary Club that she and I both belonged to. And then actually we belonged to the same club. Nick, my husband, and my dad belonged to a different club. And then Olivia and her family are in a different club as well. We're all, we're wallpapering our community with our family and all of our Rotary clubs. But my mom, who, she does the bookwork for my dad's company, and she's had a few different volunteer things, but Rotary really was something that gave her an opportunity to really explore her leadership opportunities, and to be able to watch her grow as a woman, as a person. She became our Rotary Club president about 6 or 7 years after she joined, and to be able to share that journey together has really been wonderful. And then to be able to share it with my niece and the rest of my family. I guess if I could think of a Rotary moment that means the most, that's probably it.
Great, thank you. One other question that came up, and I think it's a really good question, and especially timely, the fact that you have your niece here as well, is what are some of the things, I guess, that you've seen throughout your Rotary travels that are most successful in engaging youth and engaging younger population in the Rotary movement?
Sure. One of the biggest lessons I know that I've learned, and then I'll steer it into including the youth movement. One of the biggest things that I've learned, and I know that this is something many of you on this call have similarly experienced, is that, we, through Rotary, essentially, we have a global passport. We are global citizens, and many of us have had an opportunity to travel far and wide and see how Rotary is done in different parts of the world. And one of the things I think that is incredible about that is that it really starts to show you that it doesn't matter where you are, what country, what part of the world it might be, that we all are the same and we all want the same things. And building world peace through understanding, as we know, is the hallmark of what we do. And when you start to see into other people's hearts and their families and their homes and the projects that they do in different parts of the world, you start to understand that, we're not so different. And that is one of the joys of being part of this organization, is seeing so many different wonderful friends that you're able to make and connect with across the globe. And one of the hallmarks of that has been the use of these global, virtual platforms to be able to connect. And I know that for many of you, you've probably had an opportunity, like I have, to participate with meetings around the world over the past year and to see the impact of what they're doing. Now, specifically as it relates to younger members, and Olivia's a great example of this, is that anyone, regardless of age. But what we know with our younger demographics is that hands-on service is something that is incredibly important, and it is to every single one of us. Research tells us that we join and we stay for service and for fellowship and friendship. And so creating authentic and legitimate leadership opportunities and service opportunities for young members is what is going to connect them in a deeper way into our own clubs and to Rotaract clubs and to Interact clubs. They have to have something that is truly meaningful for them to be able to do, and not just join a club. And I think if you take that and relate it to our own Rotary clubs, when we see members coming in and perhaps within a year or two walking out the back door, I think probably the most likely correlation from club to club is that they didn't necessarily have something that really, they were able to get their hands into. And so as we apply that message to our own clubs, I think, it's really important to make sure that everyone in our club has something that is meaningful and that, is something that gives them their Rotary paycheck, the one right here.
Great, thank you. And to follow up to that, could we ask Olivia to have her dad possibly forward the details of their club structure so that other clubs might be able to duplicate that?
Absolutely, we'd be more than happy.
Thank you. Next question, I guess, is sort of broad, but it's what's the role of Rotary International President? How are you planning what does that sort of time commitment and those types of things look like? And how do you juggle life, Rotary, business, balance, all those types of things in your new role?
The same way all of you do. We all struggle with that. Thank you, Dennis, for the question. So quick timeline, the interview for this position was back in August, and it was confirmed in October. And so I'll spend the balance of this year as president nominee, next year president-elect. And the president-elect year is very much a planning year. It's also, this is a big planning window right now. One of the very first things out of the gate is, making sure that there's a couple of very key appointments, your aide, your convention chair, and the moderator of the International Assembly, where we'll be training our governors-elect. Those are three big things that need to happen fast. And also a lot of pressure for your goals and for your theme. Within weeks, actually, of confirmation. Those are things that need to be sorted out. And so this year, looking at a lot of what the special initiatives that we're going to want to be able to place our attention on in 22-23, making sure that there's continuity between those plans and what President-elect Shaker is going to announce in early February at the International Assembly this year, and also that they tie into things that President Holger is working on, so that we don't change things from year to year, that we enhance and amplify them. And again, I think that's a message that could trickle down to our clubs and our districts as well. So hopefully on July 1 of this year, all things being somewhat with a little bit more ability for movement, we actually technically moved to Evanston, Illinois for 2 years. And so Nick's going to be taking the 2 years away from his medical practice. And one of the great things about Rotary is all the little serendipity things that happen. And we have a really good friend, actually a young man that I sat on the board of governors at the University of Windsor with. And he, as a student, actually joined Nick's Rotary Club and then went off to medical school. And about 2 or 3 days after I was selected, he's doing his residency right now in rotations. And his sister called him at midnight, about 2 or 3 days after I was selected, and said, "Have you seen Facebook?" And he said, "No, what's going on?" And she said, "Osmond, Jen was selected." And he said that he was in the Emerge area and he broke into tears. He was so excited and so emotional. And patients were saying, "Doctor, are you okay?" And anyway, he called me the next morning, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "Let Nick know whatever he needs, I'm there," whether it's, take his practice for a week, a month, a year. And so he's going to take it for the full 2 years. And it's an opportunity for him to be able to walk into a practice and for us to be able to do this job together, which is really an incredible gift. So we'll technically move, and then that'll be home base. we'll, the nice thing is that it's a 45-minute flight from where we live to headquarters. And so for us to be able to plan to sneak home a couple of times, to be able to see our family, we're going to be able to do that. And that is a real, we know that that's a real privilege, because, looking at, our international presidents who serve, they don't get to just jet home for a couple of days to be able to touch base. And so I've actually built a studio in the basement of our home right now to be able to do a lot more of this. We're at our family cottage. We actually all quarantined and able to enable us to be here together. There's my mom and dad and Olivia, her brother, and mom and dad, and Nick and I will be able to spend the next 2 weeks together. So that's really important to us. And fortunately, we've got this little bubble where we've been able to protect ourselves, which is great. Then the presidency year, we'll be on the road a lot. We'll be visiting, hopefully, your area and being able to see all of you in person. Won't that be a nice thing to be able to be in person again? That's something, obviously, we're all, every one of us, looking forward to in short order. And then by, the time we snap our hands, we're going to be hosting a convention in Melbourne, Australia. And that's where the convention where we'll conclude our term and celebrate everything that we've all collectively done together. And hopefully that's something that many of you are going to want to put onto your travel calendars so that we can all celebrate. Certainly, I know that I have a lot of pride in representing our country as well. And so I think, and I hope that we're going to have a good turnout from the Canadian Rotary Clubs.
Two more quick questions. One is, what's the next cause? I guess, the impact we've seen with COVID, what do you think the next cause for Rotary will be after polio?
So,
or including polio, I guess, follow up after that.
Sure. It's a good question, and one that we talk about a lot. The reality is that we are laser focused on crossing the finish line with polio eradication, and we will not deviate from that until we're done. Can you imagine if we took our foot off the gas and cases were to come back? All of our efforts would have been for naught. And we are so close, 99.9% of the way there. We've immunized more than 2.5 billion children, raised over $2.1 billion. We have to get this done. And not only that, we now see that through our efforts with polio, that we are able to tackle COVID, we're able to tackle malaria and tuberculosis and so much more. And I think that perhaps what we may see is even the polio infrastructure in more than 70 countries that we've built along with our partners. Certainly that's going to be used, but perhaps even expanded as we see the need throughout the globe. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But as we know with polio, it was the idea of one Rotarian that spread, and it morphed into what is now a global movement. And had you asked us 35, 40 years ago, could we do this? I don't think there's a single one of us who would have said we could, just because of the massive undertaking that this has been. But look at what we've been able to accomplish, and look at what we've learned from it, and look at how this has galvanized us as an organization behind something to understand that our ability to think big, dream big, and do things that make just a profound difference in our planet. I think that one of the things that we're seeing right now with COVID is the relevance of the efforts that we've had for polio eradication, and the relevance of us as an organization right now as we move forward with tackling COVID. So, one of the, I guess, and to sort of wrap that part up, is that one of the things that clearly we see in having 7 areas of focus is that it allows for passion points for so many people to be able to target the things that mean the most to them. And so we all have an opportunity through each of those different 7 areas of focus to do that. And through our grant structure, we know that what we're doing is asking Rotarians to think large. And we know that we've been able to scale our projects up through Future Vision, which is now the current model of the Rotary Foundation. And so we're not just doing little things, we're doing a lot of great big things and making a really big difference. And so a sincere thanks to every one of you for what it is that you've been working on in your local communities and your global community. And the leadership that each and every one of you has been able to provide is immeasurable.
So one last question, and it really ties in, I guess, to what you just said in regards to global impact of organizations. And Rotary International has recently announced the merger or partnership, I guess, with Toastmasters. And when you look at the two organizations, I think there's a lot of syncrasies that can happen there. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on the Toastmasters partnership, and any comments on that? And what areas do you think we can partner the best to have the most impact?
Sure. Well, Toastmaster is one great example of a recent partnership. And I think the power of partnerships, quite honestly, is an ability for us all to leverage our strengths and to, build collective capacity in civil society for service organizations. And, jumping to a couple of others, I want to tell you a really neat thing that's been going on, because these are names that are going to mean something to you. The current second vice president of Lions, who is in Calgary, Patty Hill, and the current president of the YMCA internationally, Patricia Pelton, in Calgary as well. And the three of us have been on the phone now, actually on Zoom, for the better part of about 2 months. And they reached out when I was selected to say congratulations. And then I brought the two of them together. And the fact that we have 3 Canadian women at this point in time in these leadership roles in organizations, global organizations, and what this dialogue between us as we're getting to know each other, just as leaders, as women, both in our personal lives and in this capacity, in this leadership capacity. And we're having a really wonderful time talking about what can we do with this? What are the opportunities? And mentoring is the biggest subject that we've been talking a lot about. And maybe I can end it on this, that, as I look around the landscape of mentorship and the importance of mentorship, one of the biggest, most important mentors in my life was Monty Audenart. And that has always been an incredible gift in my life. And as we think about gifts at this time of the year, one that has always touched me profoundly, I can say that without any hesitancy, I can say that I would not be in this role today if it weren't for Monty, and for the doors that he opened, and for the mentorship, whether it was quiet or whether it was more overt from time to time. He really, his hand is woven through everything that I have been able to do in our organization. And I think of him so much, so often. And I was really glad to be able to spend some time with his wife, Liz, last year when I was in your area. And I think that that's a gift that we in this organization can give to others. And cross mentorship is one of the things that I know I'm going to be speaking a lot about in the next couple of years. And what I mean by that is that I like to sort of think of removing the hierarchy in mentorship a little bit. And it's not just this kind of a relationship, but that we, with those that we're mentoring, regardless of age, but generally that tends to have a bit of an age difference in relationship, that we have so much to learn from each other. And that is something that I think, as we try to make a more meaningful experience for our Rotaractors, for our young professional Rotarians, that we understand that all of us come to an idea that we can learn from each other. And that's something that has really been blossoming and being fostered in my thinking. And it certainly was born out of the fact that I had a very dear friend in Monty. So let me leave it on that note.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question. Sorry. We just got a couple minutes left. So the question has come up, and I think it's a great question. And from your interview today, I don't think it really impacts, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. How do you see your role as a media specialist and video producer, as well as being the first female president? And the comment on that was, it's about time for Rotary International. How do you see that working together to try and increase the profile of Rotary globally?
Wow, I'm not sure who asked that question, but it's incredibly insightful, because I plan on taking that for a really good ride, and increasing our external voice and vision across the globe is something that will absolutely be a very top priority for me in making sure that we're elevating our great service across the globe and tying it into people who are going to be able to tell our stories in a way that we're able to reach a maximum audience. And so I don't want to say too much about it because it's a little premature to get into it, but that will be a very key focus. And I believe that at the end of the day, that when we share the stories of what it is that we do, other like-minded people say, hey, I want to be part of that. And that, I think, is probably the best opportunity to grow our organization, is to be able to showcase the good things that we're doing, tell the stories of the impact that we're making, the way that we are literally changing the landscape of our planet through our efforts. There's the 1.2 million Rotarians, a couple 100,000 Rotaractors, hundreds of thousands of interactors, and even more of Rotary kids. Is that what you guys are calling it right now?
What do you mean by
The
teenagers and stuff?
Yeah, interactors for teens, but Rotary kids, whatever it is called. We don't have
the Little Bugs Club.
Little Bugs Club. Okay, I didn't hear that. All right, that's a new one right there. But certainly lots of them, and then all of the other partners and other people that support us, our alumni, etc. We are a couple million person movement, and I believe that as we share our stories across the globe, more people are going to want to be joining us as we expand our reach and increase our impact.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer.
Hey,
Thank you, Dan.
Jennifer, can I jump in with a question? Dennis, do you mind?
Yeah, no?
Okay, Jennifer and Olivia, thank you very much for the uptick in hope today. I appreciate that. And I was really, really impressed about Olivia and her peers being in the Rotary meetings. That's amazing. Our group our club has a new committee we just formed, and I want to get your direction in terms of who else is already doing this, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. But basically, the committee is the Champions for Children. And so what they want to do is to educate people about adverse childhood experiences, about the adverse childhood experiences and the impacts from those adverse childhood experiences, and then help to get people who have been adults or children who have been affected by adverse childhood experiences to get some help they need in order to thrive, have great lives. Somebody like young Olivia here, she's going to thrive. She's going to do amazing things. But there's kids, if they've got severe trauma in their lives, that thriving becomes very, very difficult. So are there other things within Rotary that I don't know about that are moving that forward?
Alan, there is a program that a woman in Michigan runs, a Rotarian there. And ironically enough, it's not going to surprise you that I'm going to put this one forward, but it is a mentor program. And there's a lot of what you're talking about that weaves directly into this. Her name is Jackie Huey. And I'd love to be able to connect the dots with you. We can certainly connect afterward. And I can give you links to what it is that she does. But it's really making these connections. And what she's doing is pulling from, very profile people in the community and having them interact and spend, direct time with people and making sure that the linkage is really profound and something meaningful to that young person. And I know that she would be incredibly excited to be able to share her story with you, and would be a great future program for another multi-club event like this to be able to share it, because it is a movement, and her and her daughter both have been very involved in putting this together. So I'll be glad to give you more information about that.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to that. Also, one quick question for Olivia. Olivia, we end our meeting with the 4-way test. Will you recite it for this meeting today?
Sure.
Thank you, Olivia. We'll get back to you.
And I forgot to mention that I wore my special ugly sweater today. I figured the right day to do it. So hopefully there's others on the call who maybe did the same.
So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Kimberly Davis.
Sorry, it takes a minute for the computer to get my video up and everything. Everybody can hear me okay? Great. Well, hi, Jennifer and Olivia. My name is Kimberly Davis. I'm the president-elect of the Rotary Club of Lethbridge. And was just reflecting that in 2020, being thankful is really a choice. We have so much to be thankful for today. I think today is an example of how technology can bring us closer together and really create opportunities that we might not have otherwise. So I think it's pretty amazing that we've been able to have Jennifer Jones, Rotary International President Nominee, speak with us today. And Jennifer, thank you for taking the time, to talk about all of these topics. The importance of service and our new focus on the environment was really interesting to me today. And Olivia, I know your project has inspired me, and I hope the rest of the attendees here really look for projects that focus on the health of our planet, because I think that was a great, bold step by Rotary. Jennifer, it was also really impactful when you talked about the far-reaching impacts of COVID-19. We truly need to care for those in our world, our communities, but also our clubs. It's interesting that Rotary has been successful in nearly eradicating polio, and we're coming to a close in that chapter. And then this new vaccination challenge has arose. So the ties between COVID and polio are very strong, and it's exciting that Rotary might be instrumental in really lending a hand there. It's also really impactful to me when you talked about diversity in perspectives. It resonated with me when you said that we're all stronger when we view issues through many lenses. But there's also the opposite truth when you said we're not so different because we all want the same things. And we're all looking for relationship and meaning. And I really feel like Rotary can be such an amazing outlet for this. So hopefully this brought us all a little closer together. So thank you again for taking time to join us today with your thoughts and answering all of our questions. And enjoy your Christmas. And I love your sweater. Sorry I didn't don one myself.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Hello. Okay, so if it wasn't enough that we got to meet Jennifer and Olivia today, that was awesome. But in addition to that, we have a special presentation from DG Mary Turner and Marlene Dougherty. Marlene, what is your title again? I think it's Polio Coordinator Extraordinaire or something like that. Anyways, you two ladies are on.
Thanks so much, Alan. And Jennifer, it's a real pleasure to have you with us today. And Olivia too. Thank you so much for making your first day of your holiday vacation part of our world today. So we really appreciate the time that you've taken, Olivia, to spend with us today. On behalf of the family of Rotary here in District 5360, we call our younger members early actors, our interactors, Rotaractors, and Rotarians. I'd like to offer our sincere congratulations on becoming our next Rotary International President in 2022. We extend our highest respect and gratitude for your hard work and your leadership. And we are all very proudly polishing our Canadian maple leaves, a symbol of our identity, and applaud you as the first woman to take the helm of our organization. Today's a very special day. It provides us with an opportunity to share with you the good work of Rotarians across our district as we strive to raise funds for the eradication of polio. I'd like to take time now to introduce our District Polio Plus Coordinator, Marlene Dougherty, who will take a moment to elaborate on our good news. Marlene?
Thanks, Mary. Welcome, Olivia. I loved your story. I remember as a little girl, my father collected bagfuls and bagfuls of bread tags and milk sealers, and he would donate them for wheelchairs. And so great to see you today, Jen. The last time we were in Lethbridge together, I believe we had to carry Dan and Neil at the Bernie Carrier Memorial Golf Tournament. Jennifer, your commitment and leadership to end polio has been unwavering and is inspirational. And as you mentioned, during this COVID-19 pandemic, we are grateful that the polio infrastructure Rotary has helped to develop has been crucial in the response to treat other diseases and COVID-19 in many vulnerable countries. Having participated in 2 NIDs in Ethiopia, I have met crawlers and visited adults and children with twisted and deformed limbs. I've also seen the tears of joy from parents when their child receives the 2 oral drops, knowing they will not suffer the devastating effects of polio. The December End Polio newsletter headline stated, Rotary members achieve a record-breaking World Polio Day. And I am delighted to confirm that District 5360 contributed to that success. Typically for World Polio Day, we organize an indoor ride to end polio and a social event. We sincerely appreciated your presence at Shanks last year for your polio conversation and trivia contest. COVID has reimagined how we as Rotarians respond, and I'm extremely grateful for the creativity of Rotarians, like Vic Maris from the Rotary Club of Sylvan Lake. Vic is an avid cyclist and visioned an outdoor cycle, challenging all clubs in our district to cycle 5,360 kilometers and raise $1 for each kilometer cycled. 14 clubs participated in the challenge, and collectively we cycled 47,075 kilometers. Fun fact from DGE Martin Parnell, the distance around the Earth equator is 47,075 kilometers, which means our district cycled around the world to eradicate polio. We look forward to expanding this challenge next year, so stay tuned. On World Polio Day, Bingo for Polio was a district-wide event, a collaboration between the Rotary Club of Chinook and Calgary West. In addition, many clubs organized club socials to raise awareness and funds to end polio. My sincere thanks to Rotarians across District 5360 for your generosity and commitment to end polio. Jennifer, on behalf of District 5360, it is my great pleasure to virtually present you with a check for $70,000 US, our collective donations to end polio from July to date. This is an increase over 27,000 from this time last year.
Marlene, Mary, this is incredible news. Congratulations, and thank you for your leadership in all of this. And my goodness, doing it in a COVID year. That is, absolutely brilliant and outstanding. And congratulations. That is, I love, what a great story, pedaling around the world. I hadn't heard that you'd done that. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary and Marlene. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that. We have now, we're gonna get to you in just a second, Olivia. But first, we have a special Sergeant at Arms presentation. For this special event, we called in some favors. Show us that there, Charlene.
Oh, Mrs. Claus, it's working. I can see them, they're there. Maybe we don't need to call NORAD after all. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, Rotarians, and greetings from the North Pole. It was very thoughtful for you to ask me to be Sergeant at Arms or Santa at Arms at your Rotary meeting today. 4 more days till Christmas, and the work is almost done. Now, my Sergeant at Arms or my Santa at Arms duties. Rotarians with 4 days left till Christmas, you should all be done your shopping. So for those Rotarians who have not purchased the gift for their life partner, you're guilty of present procrastination. Sounds like an oxymoron to me. Present procrastination. And you will pay a fine of $5 at the Salvation Army kettle when you go to purchase those gifts between now and Christmas. $5 at the kettle for present procrastination. And remember, there are many Rotarians manning those kettles and acting as my spies. So don't you dare pass by without a contribution. Now, Rotary and Rotarians are much like me, Santa, doing work in their communities and around the world. In my travels, I see your work everywhere. Rotary President Nominee Jennifer, did you know that there are 20 clubs in this Rotary district right now doing projects in more than 15 countries? Many of the clubs working on more than one project at the same time. That's in addition to the great work they do at home in their own communities. My compliments to the clubs and the Rotarians on this webinar who are directly involved with these projects, because you are doing great work. But now, it's time to pay for that compliment. If you have been involved personally in any of these great projects, please pay a happy fine, $1 or $2, next time you pass by those Salvation Army kettles. Now, President Nominee Jennifer and District Governor Mary, the elves tell me that you two have something in common other than being Rotarians and both growing up in Ontario. You are both married to medical doctors. For that, you must pay a fine for medical monkey business. Yes, medical monkey business. Make sure you stop by that kettle and pay that fine. And all of you might think that when I return to the North Pole, you'll be able to escape the fine without me knowing. Keep that money in your pocket, so to speak. But can you escape your Rotary conscience? You remember the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? And so on. Pay that fine. Don't pass that kettle by. Now that's all I have for you today. It's time to get back to my workshop. Rotarians, it's been great to join you at this meeting. Before I go, may I wish you and your loved ones a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and my greatest wish is that you all stay safe during this Christmas season. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, everyone!
Well, thanks, Santa. Who knew Santa was a Rotarian? I didn't, but that was awesome. Thank you very much for that. Charlene, if you would share the screen for the four-way test, and Olivia will share that with us. Will recite that for us.
Go ahead.
The four-way test of things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Good job.
Thank you so much, Olivia. Really appreciate that. Olivia, thanks for coming on, and thanks, Jennifer, for sharing your time with us. That was awesome. It is about time. I'm really looking forward to your leadership of the 2 million Rotarian-related type peoples that are on our globe. 2020 has been a very challenging year, but we learned a lot in 2020. 2021, I think things are going to be a lot more settled, a lot less uncertainty, I think. So anyways, thank you all. Keep very well. Keep yourself healthy, and hope to see you healthy and active in 2021.